Yeah. Pray for my city.
Pray for
Gunna.
my city.
Quick draw. Come on, city. Philadelphia, let me talk to you for a minute. There's too much senseless killing going on. Stop. I need y'all to take a walk with me. Take this walk.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to Everything Philly Podcast, your platform for information and entertainment and hitting some hard topics. I'm Sharice. So we have not a special guest, but first time guest, Freddie. Freddie Johnson. He is my cousin. And welcome, Freddie. Thanks for coming.
Thank you so much.
So we had a previous episode where we talked about some daddy issues. And we had my stepsons, my husband's sons came on. And a lot came out of that episode. But we never really got to the bottom of some deeper rooted questions. We had a lot of feedback from viewers who wanted more information, wanted some more in-depth knowledge on some of those topics with daddy issues. So I thought it was an excellent idea to bring Freddie on today just to get a different perspective, a more intellectual perspective on daddy issues and different things that can come out of having daddy issues, what daddy issues look like to different people. So welcome again, Freddie.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Yes. And Rob, you want to get right into it? I'll let you start the party.
I could tell y'all nervous. Y'all nervous already. The thing is, our last episode with daddy issues was you had young men that came out that wasn't ready, that wasn't out the closet all the way.
Okay.
They, in their mind, it wasn't, but their conscience was eating at them, and they wanted me to feel some kind of way about the decisions they made in life. And a lot of people, I actually believe a whole lot of people is going through these same issues at home, and they don't know how to deal with it.
Right.
So it left everybody more confused than it did with the answer. So meeting you, seeing you around, everything, you seem like you're comfortable with your decision in life.
Absolutely.
Like your conscience isn't eating at you. So I thought it'd be a good thing to have you on the show to express from the beginning, from coming out to where you are now in life. Like most people in life make decisions to find happiness, to feel complete or whatever the case may be. Some people make decisions and weren't aware of the consequences. So when the consequences hit them, they're nervous and they don't know how to react to that.
Right.
So we decided to have you on the show that maybe you can answer some of those questions.
Sure, absolutely. It's actually one of the most requested stories as my life goes on at this point as an adult. That people will have me tell just because they're so interested. Not to throw a pun in there, but lots of times straight people are oftentimes interested as to, like how we kind of evolve from, one place to another and, how we reach that comfortability level and sort of just reclaim our lives back for the most part. And being just, and living our truth ultimately. And just basically the struggle, fight, or sometimes not at all in some situations that people endure in order to get to the place that they're at. So I guess, and then I just as listening to your introduction, I heard you say the word decision, which I just I would like to note that it's not a decision to be gay, but it is a decision to live in your truth.
Okay, and that's kind of the point that we try to get at, because that's the most decorated question there is.
Mhm.
Are you born like that,
Right.
or did you decide to live that life?
Right.
Because it's so open now that I think curiosity kills the cat.
Right.
Like you get so much publicity, you get so much attention, you get so much doors being open for you if you're in that life, because you got so much behind you. Like an average black man today, he's an average black man. Like he's a
Right.
nobody unless
Right.
you had that money to make you special. But an average young man or whatever, walking the streets, he's a nobody. Like you don't have nothing going on for you.
I mean, what I could also say about that as well is I feel like it's now more recently that, this span has opened up for, I guess, a different level of comfortability. Because I could tell you, I mean, even just growing up in the early 2000s, it really was not an easy task to even just be upfront and honest with yourself, especially, coming from a household that I did where my biological father really was not, present in my life. Um, and that was kind of like the trend for the majority of my life. And it happened that I had acquired a stepfather. My mother got married, and he was just off the bat just was not the best, father figure to even, start out with. Lots of very negative traits, very controlling, and just basically not understanding, I feel like, just a basic, you know um
Asshole.
well, he was an asshole. But I feel like further than that, though, he really did not have I mean, to for him to have children of his own, and then to be a step parent of more children, to have all these children around you, and to not have like basic parenting skills that wouldn't be so traumatic, I guess, in a sense. Um, I don't know if, people sometimes think that, the trauma would just go away, but it doesn't.
So
And
how old
so
was you when he came into your life?
I think that I can recall being about 10 years old, 9 or 10 years
So
old when he came into my life.
was you aware of your sexuality at that time?
Yes, actually, my earliest memory um, dates back to like kindergarten, like literally like 5 years old. I remember having a feeling for the male sex that was different than the female sex. And I remember feeling and knowing, like, internally, like, this is not what's supposed to be happening. Like, I remember, like, it was confusing then, and no one had to tell me. I'm sorry. Oof, excuse me. I have my cousin here who was literally, she's been a part of my life ever since I was born. And there's been no influence like that in my household, um, to make me have those thoughts. Like when I would encounter, you know, like at the age of 5, boys my age versus how I'd feel about, female, counterparts or girls, you know, the girls ended up being more so friends. you know I had guy friends, but then there was also that little voice in the back of my head that kind of just spoke, and it was more of a natural, reaction that I would deny just constantly, just, put it on the back burner, forget about it, ignore it. I feel like something's wrong about it, but I'm not exactly sure what it is. It's not been explained to me, and so I lived life like that for
So
a
so
long time.
so you held it in, like,
Yeah,
no one you could
yeah,
talk to.
absolutely.
Why? Why you feel like you couldn't talk to your mother at that time? Like,
Well, for starters, and I hate to, throw the asshole back into the equation, but for starters, because I was so young, I didn't really have much of a choice, but to conform to what was going on in my household. He happened to be a pastor at a church, and it was constant, just, Bible scriptures, and the religious, rigmarole that would just be like constantly like forced down our throats, and just the initial just fear of just some of the scriptures, and just, oh, you don't want to go to hell, like you hear about this every Sunday, and they did this and they did that and they did that. And it's even like being as young as I was, it's like I completely and vividly understood, exactly what they were referring to. And I'm just like, wow. I'm just like, so that means that just means one day that I might, be going to hell. And it kind of creates that, like, it creates a narrative, and you sort of start to walk in that path. And then, the depression sets in, because you can't,
be
you
yourself.
you feel like you can't talk to anybody. I can't talk to my stepdad, who's a pastor at a church. My mom loves him. They're in the honeymoon phase. I don't know how she'd feel about it. I didn't have anybody to talk to about it. It was something I just had to internalize, and I just needed to, be who I thought I should be, or what I should act like, or, how I should walk or talk. Um, you know, and I guess in education or teaching as to what was being offered to me in the home, which was just basically just you know.
How is that for a 5 year old, 6 year old, 7 year old, 8 year old, 9 year old? Every day you having these feelings, you know what's going on, but you can't.
Mhm.
You can't express it.
Can't
Like
express it, and honestly, do I actually understand, what I'm feeling? Because I remember feeling confused for a long time, but that was a very young age. Eventually, I did, develop the thought, that I feel like I've been pretty, mentally advanced the majority of my life. I feel like eventually in my very early adolescence, I did understand what was going on, but I still just didn't know what it was or what the world was or how it could change me or if my mom would throw me out, or just or anything that basically just wouldn't be suitable for, a child that's really not supposed to be out in the world on their own, and having to fend for themselves, with very little or no resources at all. So there was a lot of fear there as well. I heard the stories. Um, in fact, I've encountered friends, that were going through the same thing as me, and that just were not as lucky as me. Their story is very different,
so your
you know.
biological father, he's not around at all at this time.
I know that he is around. He's alive. But we do not have any correspondence or communication, any much of a relationship built at all, for that matter. So I feel like a lot of it, I feel like, and I guess this would be the perfect segue to, dive into the daddy issue thing or topic. And I feel like a lot of people will say or maybe blame the fact most times, and correct me if I'm wrong, but this is just what I've heard and encountered, that because a child doesn't have their father in their life is the reason why they'd grow up to be a sissy. How do you guys feel about that?
I disagree. 100% disagree. I feel as though guys that don't have their father in their life, they try to make up for it by being more macho, being more aggressive, being more of a lazy man, or whatever the case may be. It could be balanced. I don't know, but most people that I grew up with, I seen that. I seen that. Fuck my dad. I ain't need him anyway. I'm going to do this my way and nobody else way.
Right.
So I didn't see that part. But then, like today, a lot of things is coming out that we never knew back then. I guess because of social media, it's so easy to find out about a person. So I don't know if they was actually like that back then.
Right.
Like I couldn't tell you that because it wasn't out there. It wasn't so easy to come out and admit that this is what you're doing. Like
Right.
in our days, it was
Or this is who I am. Like maybe I've come to the acceptance, like in general, like in just in total, and I feel like I'm ready to step into my life and to gain my happiness because there's really no other way, and there's no one else that can give me that.
when did you come to that?
I was 20 years old, so that's kind of late actually in my world. In my community, 20 years old is pretty late to come out of the closet.
So at 20,
Um,
you finally put it out there that this is who you are. Nobody had no idea until you was 20, or they did have idea.
I mean, honestly, if they did or didn't, I didn't really hear about it and I didn't really care. I was really just looking for the approval of my mother and my grandmother. And that's obviously because, my mom, she had me when she was young. And so therefore it was my mom and my grandma. Those are my parents.
How could you hide it for 20 years? Like everyday life, like you want to do this, but you have to do this. So what was you doing every single day so nobody noticed what's going
I
on?
just stayed on the straight path. I stayed on the straight path. I kept my head down.
He's a
Um,
good boy.
yeah, yeah, I've always been. Yeah, I've never been involved in anything. Like that would, I guess, suggest like I don't know anything wild or anything. Like I never really had to like put on for anything or anybody. I just stay out of the way. The less people know.
I
No,
think your
I
Yeah,
demeanor.
can't
I
go
mean,
on with that because all right, my sons, I'm around my sons and we walk past some girls. I'm like, you ain't trying to talk to that. You don't like her. You don't get her number. She's nice. So you had a girlfriend?
I've had a girlfriend. Let's see. I had one actual girlfriend because I can't call the other encounters like a girlfriend, but I did have one girlfriend. can't really even say that. I feel like it was just more of a consistent, like it was just consistent sex. In which case I was able to, please her and she was able to please me.
How?
Um
If you feeling this on the inside, how could you subject yourself to be with something that's not attractive to you?
I honestly thought that if I did it enough, that it would go away.
Okay.
If I did it enough, maybe I'll learn to like this. Maybe this will be my reality. Maybe I can bring a grandchild home to my mom. You know,
So you playing mind games with yourself.
it's a part of the process. I know that now, but back then it's very depressing. It's very
We as a
depressing.
family, we definitely didn't know. And I think even if we thought about it, it was a quick thought because so Freddie is just like his grandfather, Pat's dad. Pat's dad was very soft spoken, very laid back, just real chill. And that's how Freddie was. So we used to always say, oh, he's just like Uncle Charles. He's just like Uncle Charles. He's just really laid back and smooth. Never really thought twice about why he doesn't have, a whole bunch of girls because he's so handsome, especially, light skin, good hair. We just said Freddie was just a cool kid, just laid back. He just wasn't into that. He was, into working and going to school, just a good kid. So I don't know if it was because I can't say we were in denial because we never had conversations about, no whispering about Freddie. Never. It was just he's just like Uncle Charles, just real laid back and chill. So when I found out, I was like, really? Oh, okay. And I'll never forget that day because you picked me up from the airport and on the
Yes.
drive home, you were
Yep.
like, I'm finally out.
Yep.
I'm like, huh? It's like I'm out and it feels good.
Yep.
And I'm like, okay.
Yep.
But,
So
but
It was
most
very.
people I thought would be able to come to their mom. I thought coming to your dad would be the hardest part.
Well, he wasn't there.
I know, but
So
that's why I
why?
say your mom, but like because of the relationship your mom was in, made it harder for you to talk to her. Because it's like for a child coming up with that much, can't say pain, I don't know what it was, but carrying that much inside for so many years, that's depressing.
It is very much. It is very much depressing. I mean, not knowing, like how things will turn out if you are honest and upfront, versus, you know, kind of just like sitting alone in the shadows, just sort of kind of just rotting away, like in your emotions and just basically ignoring it. You're ignoring it, you're allowing everyone else to ignore it as opposed to, loving yourself first, and just basically, you know, considering your feelings and your emotions and happiness ultimately first,
Okay,
you
but
know.
how about the fact of like the people that actually care for you? Like, did you know your mom love you?
Yeah, I mean,
So
yeah.
what did you think she would actually do if you came gave the complete truth of you?
I had no idea what
But
to
you was
expect.
afraid of
Yeah,
dealing
yeah,
with it.
yeah. It was very scary.
so what made you that moment that you finally that day? I'm gonna tell my mom this is it.
So
What brought you to that moment?
we were having a really, I remember the night. We were having like a really good night, not unlike any other night. Me and my mother have an amazing relationship. Um, so we were doing at the time, and again, I was like about 20 years old. At the time, we would go to a weekly yoga class. My mom was really into fitness, and um, she was like kind of just really kind of into her health, like around that time. And she would take me with her. We would go, we would do the class, everything. We'd go home, make salads. It was just what we did on a weekly basis. It was just our way to kind of, further connect. Um, and so one particular night, I just, for some reason, oh, I'm sorry, I'm missing a big detail. Uh, Typically at the end of the yoga classes, the instructor will give like a, I guess, saying or like a proverb or something to go home with to kind of think on. And so that evening, it happened to be stand in your truth. Just that's it. Just stand in your truth. So the quote kind of like resonated with me. We went home, we were sort of winding down for the evening, and then it just kept ringing in my ear. It just kept going. It was just like stand in your truth. Stand in your truth. I've already done the things that I've done. I feel like I had already tried everything I was going to try like, to kind of like change the storyline. And so she was in her bedroom and I just went in there and I kind of just like sat next to her. And I'm just like, hey, I'm like, do you actually have a minute to talk? And so she was like, of course, she's always very inviting. Um, and we basically sat down and I was telling her, I was like, I know that you've seen me with, girls here and there and stuff like that. And she's like, yeah. And I'm just like, well, you know, here's the other part to that. And she was kind of like quiet for a minute, And so I kind of further elaborated. I was just like, it's more than just, a particular, closeness, but, like I feel like I just need to just be maybe just honest with myself and live, this lifestyle in its entirety. And I think that it would, further gain like my happiness and my independence. And she kind of like, had her head down. She was, I guess she was just gathering herself. It wasn't negative or anything like that. And she basically, long story short, um, came and said, you know, um, I have obviously like, I love you. You're my son. I've always loved you. I love you. Everything you've ever brought to the table, I've always honored and accepted and made sure that, it was, good for you. And, that's not going to stop basically. And so she gave me a condition to, coming out or her acceptance of, being okay with, who I am. Not the decision that I've made, but well, yes, in part decision, yes, but being strong enough to proclaim, who I am. Um, and she gave me the condition that I never hide myself from the world again.
So how did that feel?
It was liberating, and it was liberating for both of us, and it was a moment that we could share like mother and son. All of the like nightmare, it's like an immediate like weight and just like all of the horrors and nightmares as to how I thought this scenario was gonna go. Like it's just like erased. It was just like it was like turning a completely new leaf. It was just like I took my first breath again.
You see, that's the issue that I think
And that's I'm sorry, just to add to, it's not common that that will happen. Most
that
times,
response.
yes. Most times there's a lot of confusion. There's a lot of resentment. There's a lot of lashback. You know, I might even not want you to come around for a little while. Like I don't even know who you are. Like I've experienced and I've seen so much that's happened to other people that I can't help but say that it was literally a blessing. Like my mother's reaction and my family's reaction
So when you say you experience that, you mean from other
from
friends, you
other.
witness how their family
Right.
reacted to it.
Right.
So do you
Exactly.
think that's because they wasn't comfortable in their own skin, like they was going through their own issues? Because why decisions you make in life should affect someone else so hard?
I mean, I feel like that's like an ongoing, question. I can never I don't think I'll ever be able to understand why or how someone could be so hung up or upset, you
No,
know.
I mean, be going through your experiences with the
Mhm,
friends that you have or whoever that you witnessed this through.
mhm.
Like later on down the line, did it ever come out why, or did the relationship get better or worse, or whatever the case may be?
In some cases, I'm sorry, actually, in most cases, the relationship would improve, but it wouldn't be at baseline. So like we can be cordial, you can definitely come over, oh holidays, so on and so forth. We might talk, I'll make sure I'll help you out if you need it, and you'll help me out if I need it, type of, relationship. And that's basically it.
I mean, I'm asking these questions because of relationships I have with my sons, and
Right.
the way I accepted it is different than they thought
Okay.
I would, and it's kind of shocking to them the way I accepted it. But I think they still act out because their conscience won't let them get over it. The kind of when I say that conscience is like they embedded in their head for so long that my dad's going to hate me. He's going to be pissed and this and this and that. And I didn't respond to their thoughts,
Right.
it eats them up. So they still try to show me that they are still a man. They still my son. And it just puts them in danger for real, for real. Like in harm's way because they do stuff that's senseless.
What, if you don't mind me asking, what was your reaction, like your initial reaction to the news?
My reaction is honesty is like it's a shock to me because I've never seen it. But at the same time, this is your life. You got to live your life. You got to deal with the consequences that come with that. Like, you still my son. I love you to death, and I have to deal with it. I don't accept it because it's not my way. It's taboo to me. But that's for my life. Like, I can't live my life through my son.
Right.
I only could accept what he do and only ask him to respect me. That's all. I don't want to see it. I know about it, but I don't want to see it. Same way you want me to respect you for the decisions you make,
Right.
respect me for how I feel about your decisions, and that's all I could do.
Okay. Okay. So, but there's still like, you know, like as far as like not seeing it, like exactly. So, what does that mean for like future relationships?
Not
And
seeing it means you're still a man, no matter what it is. You're still a man,
right,
okay? So you still have to be respectful as a man, a woman, or whatever. If you're a man and you have a wife or whatever, you're not going to come in front of me and be all telling your girlfriend down, digging in her butt, taking her clothes off, whatever the case may be. You're
right,
not going to do it.
right.
So the same thing if you're with another man, like
Oh
you
no.
don't have to do
Right.
that stuff in front of me.
Oh
Respect
yeah.
respect me. That's all it is.
Right. So like,
Like
but like a casual, like you know, like hey, such and such is tagging along. We're just stopping by to say hi. You know, and we're kind of like in and out. Like that would be like
That's what I would
okay,
love to. No
okay,
matter what it is, a man or a
okay,
woman, I would love to know who's my son involved with. Like, if something happened, I would like to know who I got to go to find out what's going on with my child.
right.
So that wouldn't bother me at all. Like,
And then like by consequences, like do you think like just as far as like referring to like the majority group, you know, of homosexuals, when you talk about consequences, exactly, is it the consequences that we might face regarding negativity, like as far as like the public, or just is it consequences, you know, as far as you know, like I'm just trying to touch on.
no, it's the scrutiny that comes with that title. Like,
Okay.
you walk down the street and people see two guys holding hands or kissing, whatever. You faggot, you homosexual, whatever. You're going
Hmm.
to get that.
Hmm.
Like, some people can't accept that. That's the way
Right.
they was live, or maybe they not cool with themselves. I don't know why
Right.
people react the way they act when they see that,
Right.
but it's going to happen. You
Right.
can't,
Right.
like, we don't live in a perfect world. Like, it's going to happen. So you got to be
Right.
man enough
Right.
to take that on.
And I feel like that's actually something that is self-taught amongst a lot of gay men in particular. I don't want to give the perspective of a lesbian because I'm not lesbian, you know, but that's all a part of, you know, building yourself up, you know, as far as what to expect. How can I maintain a life, you know, in this world, in this country, you know, and be successful, you know, as well as the next guy, in and you know, still be able to potentially, you know, take criticism or negativity just because of, you know, what I am. Um, you know, it's all a part of building that's self-taught in a
That's
gay
it.
man, and that's
Self
you
confidence.
have to, yeah, you have to, because otherwise, you know, that's how you hear those, you know, unfortunate stories about how, you know, kids, and sometimes just too young, any age is bad, but, you know, especially really young, and they know that they're gay, and, you know, they're just not, they can't face the world. And so, you know, that's it for them. And they've decided to embark on a different journey,
I
you
mean,
know.
that's the case with. I mean, it's not only with gay men that go through that stuff. Like, if you decide you're a black man, you decide to date a white woman, you're going to go through that. You're going to go
Exactly.
through
Exactly.
whatever it is that's going to come along
You
with it
have to prepare yourself,
in life.
you know, for the good, the bad, the best, the worst. I feel like anybody needs to or should, you know, because then that's how we don't have a handle then on your life, your confidence, and what you're standing in, the light that you're standing in.
Yeah, when I say the consequences, I'm saying exactly what I'm saying to you. Is
Mhm.
like when you decide to come out or be in the public light, you
Right.
know what's going to come with it.
Right.
You have to accept who you are. You have to
Mhm.
love who you are
Exactly.
enough to sit
Mhm.
here and say, no matter what happens, I gotta eat that.
Mhm.
I gotta take
Exactly.
it, but I'm
Yeah.
still going to strive to be a better person.
Exactly.
You understand what I'm saying? It's not um, negativity where it's consequences like I'm going to cut my son off and put out whoever see my son, kill him,
Yeah.
beat him up, do whatever.
No. Yeah.
Not
No.
that kind of stuff. It's like
No. Be just
it
as
is what
great
it
as the
is.
next person. You know, what is stopping you from being just as great as the next heterosexual male? Nothing. My sexual preference should have nothing to do with my achievements, my goals, my lifestyle in general. And I mean just my day-to-day lifestyle. You know, it should not, like, there shouldn't just be, we shouldn't be held in a bubble, or just like we shouldn't be under a particular umbrella. We have the capability to branch out and be some of the greatest people we know. You know.
Unfortunately, not everybody's like that. You have
Right. Right.
some bad seeds that makes it harder for you guys.
Right.
Like the ones that get out there and they just gotta be fabulous with it. Like, you gotta
Right.
be snapping, popping, in the whole 9 yards, like
Mhm.
making it public.
Like
Like,
the,
what's the purpose
the
of that?
flamboyancy.
Yes. What's the purpose of that?
Right.
Like, people don't like it, so you want to throw it in their face just because
Right.
they don't like it.
You do have those individuals.
So
You do.
my next question to you is, do you believe, because you said something about a decision, do you
Hmm.
believe that everyone that's out like that now was born like that?
Yes.
You believe everybody that's out there like that was born like that?
Not, and I guess I would say, so I said I might have answered too quickly. So, but no, not everybody, because I feel like sometimes people do just do things to, experience and just see where they're at with things, or maybe they just don't even know what the hell they want, in the first place. I mean, there are those people out there, but I feel like, people know absolutely, who they are, and at a young age, and just don't know how to communicate it, and don't know what they're communicating in the first place.
So you
And
think
then once it finally, matures, and then there's like a broad understanding as to what you are and what that kind of looks like, I feel like then at that point, you kind of realize, and you at that point you embrace, or not, because I mean there is such a thing as down low. So, but that it's at that point that you're then like in full embodiment of, who you are, not who you've chosen to be, and the only choice there is to, walk in your faith, in your truth, rather, excuse me.
do you think there's a difference between a male and a woman who decides?
No, I feel like homosexuality is just that.
So you think women are born like that too? You don't think women are
Hmm.
just
Yeah.
experiencing?
Nope. Nope. And then if it is, it's again, it's just that. But you'll know who's who. You'll know who's, doing the buy thing. I feel like, and I might, don't crucify me, for anyone that's listening on the podcast. Don't crucify me for saying this, but I feel like that, like bisexual. Yes, it is a part, of our community. We don't. It's no judgment here at all. Who are we to judge? But it's I feel like there's a fine line there, um when it comes to the regard of a bisexual and what they prefer more, because there's always a more. There's always, what I go for more versus this, but I'll go for this as well. You know what I'm saying? um I feel like when somebody is gay, like I'm able to say, like, on a talk show, a podcast, that I'm a 33-year-old gay black man that is also engaged, and I'm a nurse, and I live an amazing life.
I think that was one of our biggest topics. Was gay a word that was?
Gay is very
Yes.
permissible and acceptable.
And then was it like, is there a difference between, what were the two words, gay and homosexual?
Yes.
Yes. When there
Is there
really
a
is
difference?
no,
It's the
no,
same thing.
no. Because while a woman could be lesbian, it's also a form of gay. It's still gay. And it's okay to say gay.
So
It's okay to say
it
gay.
is okay to say gay.
Yes, it is.
Is it
Mhm.
okay to say homosexual?
It is okay to say
So
homosexual.
what's offending?
So I call it the F word, and I think we might all know what that is, but we tend not to use that word. It is a derogatory term that would also imply that. And then there's also the D word for lesbians that are more.
Sorry, what's the D word? I know the F word.
So, you don't want to call a butch, which is a more masculine looking lesbian, and the offensive term for that would be dyke.
Oh, dyke. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So, you don't want to use words like that. You don't want to use the F word. Instead, gay, homosexual, or lesbian, or even stud. If it's the more masculine looking version, it's a stud. It's
Go
not a
through the letters for me.
That-
lesbian, gay, transsexual, and queer.
I thought it was more than that.
I
Gotcha.
do not account. So me personally, I don't go with the other
with the
combination of the
LGBTQ
alphabet.
plus.
I keep it very basic. It's very general for me. I'm just gay. I don't know. I cannot answer for transgender people. I can't, even answer for queer or the people, that, consider them to be a they, them, or
Oh, the pronouns.
Well, what's a queer?
a tree branch one day. Like I don't know. I can't. I'm just regular gay. So I only even I'm sure everyone has also noticed like a difference in the flag and how like now it's got all different types of angles and colors, and it's like it's trying to be so inclusive, to particular groups that themselves they might even consider themselves to be gay. Maybe they just said no, I'm not a man, I'm not a woman, I'm a they or an it, and this is what I am and this is what I like.
Yeah, but
You
I'm
know,
saying when
but
when the language isn't taught, like people, how could you get offended when someone like me don't know? Like if
I
a queer, I don't even
absolutely
know what's a queer. Like
right.
if I see you and I think you're gay and I call you gay, but you say I'm a queer, like how could you get offended if I don't know what a queer is?
Right. And I do not, and I preach this all the time. I feel like I don't fault, anybody, especially if you've not been, educated on, terminology and what that actually means. You know, no one's wearing, a name tag on them, constantly. Like it's not written across everyone's forehead for me to know what to call you appropriately so that I don't offend you.
Right.
It's no one's fault. And I feel like I think it's absurd for anybody to get offended, especially considering no one's, a fucking mind reader. Like
Exactly.
it's that you have to be, you have to be logical and you have to kind of make sense too. Like if this is, what your reality is, someone it's like you said, like as far as like being the criticism and being like up for consequences, that's that's a big part, that's one of them,
I think
you
this was
know
making it more harder for people because you got so many things that's being thrown into the program now. Where so I
Mhm.
mean, like I said, when we grew up, it was either you was gay or homosexual. Like
Right.
everything else
But
is.
remember, it's the same
I mean, but
thing.
it's still you say that to
Yeah,
some
yeah.
people, and they're like, "I'm not a homosexual. I'm gay."
No, yeah, it's the same thing. Yeah.
That was the big
That was a
argument.
big
Yeah,
It was the
argument.
yeah,
big
yeah.
Like
argument.
you say that, people gonna
Wow.
get offended.
Mm-hmm.
Well, how do I know the
When our
difference?
guest got
Right,
offended,
right.
it was like, I'm not a homosexual.
It's literally the same thing. It's there's no other meaning to the word other than a more commonly used word, which is gay. I mean, it's the same thing.
So, for those who out there listening, and they've been hiding it for so long, defeating their life because they just don't know how to bring this to their parents, what would be the best advice from you?
I would say that no matter what your fears may be, your life really isn't going to be what you want it to be. And I'm just referring to general happiness and just, progression in your life until you make the executive decision to live in yourself, to be in yourself, be confident in yourself. You know, no one else is going to bring you happiness but you. And that's the honest truth. You have to first, find happiness within yourself in order to share happiness with somebody else.
Would timing be very important?
Timing.
Yeah, like you can't just sit here and say to yourself just because right now is the perfect time for you, but your parents or whatever may be
No.
going through something.
Well, that's the
Like,
thing.
and
No,
then you had
I'm
to figure
mhm,
out where they at. Like, you just
right.
can't go in there and pose yourself and expect them to
No,
just be open.
absolutely. I mean, when I came out, I was in the position that I'm in now, and I'm sure a lot of people aren't, in that position to just like sort of uproot if need be. But I know that when I felt it on my heart to, share that at least with somebody that, I love, like my mother, I felt like at any time that your heart says to do it, you should just do it. I I didn't know what the outcome would be. Like I said, I was there with her at the time. I had just gotten back from Boston. I had gone to school in Boston, and then I was gonna, pick up school here in Philly. So I wasn't really quite, on my feet independently as a 20-year-old. Um, so I didn't know what was gonna happen. But at the end of the day, I guess I felt like I needed to. It was a part of my strength building actually, and just being ready for whatever the world has to throw at me. And if that means that I have to, embark on this journey on my own independently, and I just have to do what I have to do to get to where I need to get or where I want to be, then that's what I have to do. But it would be so amazing if, she'd be on my side. And that's exactly what happened.
Congrats.
Thank you.
All
Well,
right. That was good. That was good. I think a lot of clarity has been shed. So hopefully our viewers have a better light and a better perspective. And just to piggyback off of what Rob was saying, these conversations aren't easy. And I think in the Black community, it has been a very, very taboo topic. But this is living proof that it doesn't have to be taboo. It is the way now. And hopefully this platform has kind of shed some light on some strategies or some tools to help anybody out there to stand in their truth. So thank you again for coming.
No
It was a
problem.
pleasure. And for our viewers out there, don't forget to like,
follow,
comment,
Comment.
subscribe.
and subscribe.
Where's my music? We got a theme song now. Where is
Yes,
that? Let
let's
me hear
go.
it.
Let's hit that.
Play that song.
Gunner,
See that?
quick draw.
Gunner.
Come on, city.
Hey, this is
Come on,
Philly's
City.
theme
Feel it,
song.
talk to
Everything
me.
Philly. Listen to this.
There's too
folks.
much senseless killing going on. Stop. Need y'all to take a walk with me. Take this walk.